Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it, you already know. Like a torta with the snack habit. Bye up, bye up, bye. You can never get enough of the Earth, Wind, and Fire, man. That's a fact, you know. Intro banging. You already know what it is, man. But before we get into the video of the day, please hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all, so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that I am kicking all week long. And I highly appreciate every bit of support that I've been getting, man. Thank you, man. So now let's get to it, right? Let's go. We're going to get to it. You know, I spoke on the biker situation, you know, yesterday concerning, you know, where do the bikers stand while incarcerated in prison? You know, do they go this way? Do they go that way? Who do they funk with? And pretty much quietly as it's kept, I got a lot of feedback, man, a lot of answers to the question that I posed. And pretty much what sums it up is prison politics trumps everything. And isn't that the case, man? Always. When you're dealing with a street gang or a club organization or biker gang or whatever you want to call it. I call them clubs, you call them gangs. You know, just based on there's a lot of 9-to-5ers, guys that are actually, you know, that got jobs, that are just part of a club, man. Part of a fraternity, basically, you know, and so I don't like to put the gang-related aspect on them, albeit, man, I know that at some points in times, man, some of these outlaw bikers are considered gangs just because they move that way, but not all of them. So I don't like to disrespect by saying that, you know, and putting a label on them. But, you know, the question I asked to the gente, to the people was, you know, why is it that brothers, man, blacks are not allowed in certain biker clubs like Hell's Angels and Mongols and you know, different gangs, different clubs, outlaws, and pretty much the answer was unanimous, you know, and that's because there's a lot of racial tension there. They go by the politics of prison. You know, they understand that in prison, they're going to have to go get incarcerated and they can't function with certain said groups, man. And because the majority of their club happens to be Mexican or happens to be white, you know, they already know that it's going to be fun. Now, when it comes to the Northern California chapters and vatos that rock with norteños on the calles, man, again, that's a question I ask you. You know, what happens then? What happens then with, say, Hell's Angels that are from Northern California that function on the streets, you know, do a lot of wheeling and dealing with brothers, man, or with Mexicans or with whatever the case may be, you know, where do they go? Who do they function with? Well, again, man, pretty much prison trumps everything. And that's just how that goes. So anyways, I wanted to tell you a story about a Hell's Angel that I met, man. Good dude. Righteous white boy. This brother right here, let me tell you something, Wood, right? Was definitely with his program. And I like the way he carried himself because to him, albeit he was a Wood, no doubt about it, he was going to rock with his people no matter what. He was a Hell's Angel before anything. The tattoos displayed it. He let everyone know. He looked like your model biker from back in the days. Big old whip, handlebar mustache, long, scraggly, fucking dirty white hair. But I'm going to tell you at the same time, in the meantime, in between time, because of his affiliation with the Hells Angels, people thought before they tested his abilities. And he was really with the shit. So when I first met this guy, met him in an out-of-state prison. We were both doing time. We happened to be on the same building. And we hit it off. You know, he found out I was from Merced, California. So one day, him being from Turlock, he actually lived in Turlock, California, got caught up out of state just like I did. You know, he came to my table one day. He's like, hey, can I talk to you, brother? And I was like, oh, shit. Here, out of everybody on the whole compa, a big-ass fucking Hell's Angel wants to get at me. And he was an older dude. You know, he was older, gray hair. But you could tell he's been in the mix for a long time, had been down for a long time. And everybody kind of kept away from him and out of his business because he looked like he didn't fucking play. And this story is about righteously how real he got and how he did not play, right? And the friendship we developed. So anyways, I ain't gonna lie. One of my hustles back in the days used to be drawing. I could draw pretty good, could do some tattoos and shit. So I used to draw cards, man, sell my cards, $2, $3, try to come up. That was my hustle. I didn't have much money coming into the penitentiary. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. You have a lot of guys that high side and guys that have been locked up. Oh, man, I was going 180 canteen every fucking time. Never missed a canteen. And is that something to be proud of? I guess so, if that's the way you do, if you're superficial. Myself, hey, homie, I was lucky with $20, $30 a month. And I was surviving, eh? And that was it. Between the commissary and what they fucking fed us, I was all right, you know, and that's just real. The majority of guys incarcerated don't got shit. You know, so all these guys that get out and I was having it my way. Maybe they did have an old lady that was paying like she was Wayne. Maybe they did have family that looked out, but mine's didn't. My family showed me tough love. You got yourself locked up. Feed yourself, puto. And that was it. Guard. I had a bad day. Right? And I don't hate on no one because of that. I don't hold anyone accountable because of that, because the only one you can hold accountable for being incarcerated is yourself. I made the choices to put myself there. I had to make the choices to get some comida. And that was it, man. So I used to draw cards. That was my hustle. A few tattoos, whatever. So this guy pulls me to the side. He's like, hey, can I get at you? You know, and I ain't gonna lie, I was pretty intimidated, man, by the size of this guy. And just by the way he looked, his tattoos, Hell's Angels. And like I said before in a past video, man, my father kicked it with a lot of bikers. So there was Hell's Angels that I interacted with, Mongols, you know, just different motorcycle clubs. So when it came to the Hell's Angels, I had a lot of respect for these guys just because I seen them do some dangerous shit in the past. And I've heard stories. So I was like, what's up? And he pulls me to the side. And he's like, you could draw, huh? And I said, yeah, I might. And he said, yeah, you don't draw anymore for anyone else, brother. You draw for me. See, I need a card every day for my old lady. He was one of those OGs, man, that had a badass chick, you know, was hooked. Like phonics. He was hooked on phonics, and he wanted to make sure that she got a letter and a fucking card every day. It got to the point where I was fucking drawing my ass off, right? He was in there working me. But he was like, hey, don't trip. I got you. Canteen, whatever you want. Make me a list. Make me a $30 list every week. I got you covered. He didn't care, man. So we developed a good friendship, man. I remember I was in that motherfucker like, damn, how many different ways and gangster styles can I draw Mickey Mouse? And then, of course, he wanted a lot of motorcycles infused. And I ain't gonna lie, motorcycles are fucking hard to draw, right? But so anyways, the relationship was like that. Pretty much, man, just based on not being friends really, but business. You know, we had a business partnership. So over time, I would sit there at his table homes. The Woods didn't really trip like that out of state, man. Everybody kind of mixed and mingled with everybody. Now, here's the one kicker into the story. So in this particular prison, man, you didn't know everybody. There was cats that kicked it over there, weirdos that kicked it over there. It was pretty much like an SNY yard. You know, it wasn't that. It was actually general population. But in this system, man, they had a little bit of everything. You know, they had rapists, they had chomos, they had this, they had all that, right? So what most people would do, if you don't ask no questions, they won't tell you no lies. You could pretty much tell the motherfuckers over there sitting cross-legged in the middle of the day room playing Dungeons and Dragons, they were weird, right? The vatos that were over here trying to kick back and post up, some of them were probably weird too. Your best thing to do was get a couple camaradas, a couple good homeboys homes, and mind your own before your own had to remind you. Do your own time. This guy, this big Hell's Angel dude, albeit he was a Wood, like I said, and the Woods had a lot of respect for him, he kind of minded his own and stuck to himself. He did whatever the fuck he wanted to do. People were intimidated by him because he was an outlaw motorcycle club member, a one percenter, a fucking biker from California. He was a Hell's Angel, and a lot of these guys had never seen a Hell's Angel. So just by them running into one and seeing a real life, then the way he acted, Holmes, very professional, very vicious. He had done a lot of time in the California prison system, so he knew what it was. They were intimidated. They didn't fuck with him. So anyways, he ends up getting a job in the kitchen, and he ends up getting the plush job in the kitchen, right? Works in the veg room. He's basically the lead of the veg room. Now, this was the makeup of this particular kitchen, and I always tried to get in the kitchen wherever prison I went because you eat good, you can get a hustle, bring back comida, sell sandwiches on the tier, burritos on the tier. It just works out that way, right? So when you're in prison, you don't have much like I didn't. You know, the kitchen is the spot. You get all the sugar, all the peanut butter. You know, that's the plug. But in this particular place, it wasn't easy to get in because all the lifers had the jobs on lock. They weren't just trying to let anyone in unless you wanted to wash dishes. And I wasn't trying to do that. Although I like the movie Scarface, I wasn't trying to turn my hands into onions. So anyways, this vato gets in there and I tell him, hey, look, I'll draw you a whole bunch of extra cards, bro. Get me in the fucking kitchen. So he's like, well, let me see what I could do. And he had juice. Even the COs that worked there were a little bit intimidated by the way his stature, the way he carried himself. Like I say, he was a big old monster. He was a big boy, but he was older. And so, anyways, you know, one day he comes back to the building. He's like, you ready to start work tomorrow? I said, bro, I ain't trying to wash no dishes, though. I ain't trying to do it. He said, no, I got you in the veggie room with me. Right? Plugged in because, see, the veggie room was separate from everyone else. So while everyone else was out there fucking serving on the line and they were on Front Street washing dishes and cleaning everything, we just kicked it in a room that specifically was for like chopping vegetables and doing all that. And most of it was done by a processor. There was like a big machine with like blades and you would just drop like the carrots in there and chop them. One thing about prison, almost everything is done by the inmate. So almost everything is done homemade. You know, the food might taste like shit because it's very bland because of the mass quantities that they're cooking. But at the same time, right, it's all done by, it's pura, right? It's real. You know, some of the bullshit got that weird artificial flavor and the added preservative in it. Some of that saltpeter, you know, to make your dick go down. But a lot of the shit is like fresh vegetables, you know, freshly cut. So anyways, my whole job was to grab bundles of carrots and papas and throw them in a machine. Plush, right? I'm eating good food. I'm having all the vegetables I want. And so there was a big blade in there. I remember it was a big old Michael Myers knife. One of the things Jason would swoop up and kill Camp Crystal Lake members in, right? But it was chained to the wall, right? It was actually chained to the wall. You had to have the cop, he would come, unchain it, unlock it, and then chain it to a table so you had about that much leeway, right? So you couldn't go far with it. It was dull on the tip. They rounded it off on the tip, but the edge was pretty sharp. And now the tip wasn't quite rounded off, but it wasn't like where you fucking, it's going to hurt someone real bad. It'll still go in you though. Oh, it did this time, right? So anyways, doing my thing. I'm there for a few months, man. Me and this dude were chopping it up, conversations, man. He happened to know a couple of my primos from the old school days. Well, my primos' fathers from the old school days. We're talking about Turlock. We're talking about Merced, Modesto, that whole Central Valley area. He was from the Valle as well. He was from the Oakland chapter of the Hells Angels, man. So he told me about a lot of the bike rides they did, a lot of the runs that they did, and some other gangster shit that I can't get into here on YouTube because it might incriminate people, right? So anyways, we're having a good time, man. It would be me, him, and they had this black vato in there, and this black vato was very quiet. He was an old school dude. He was a Muslim. He'd either be reading his Quran, doing his thing, man. And it wasn't like, oh, the blacks and whites didn't fraternize or mingle, man. When it comes to a job, they talk. Now, on the personal tip, I'm going to be honest with you, man. This Hell's Angel dude wasn't fucking over there doing burpees with them and fucking eating fucking whatever, you know, alfalfa sprouts together. But at the same time, they were decent. They were cordial. So we had a cool little crew, man. The brother, the Mexican, and the white boy, brother, right? And the white dude was pretty much in charge. Ain't that the story of our lives, right? He had this shit on lock. I mean, he had it good like the movies that you see. Like Big Al, only he wasn't trying to fuck people, right? He could tell the cop, like, come here, fool, right? The cop go over there, hey, what's up, eh? Right? Hey, get over here, right there. Just get unchain this knife. If I fuck around and cut your throat, right? So, I'd say about 3 months into the job, it was the best job I ever had up until that point. Everything was good. The cop comes in one day. He's like, hey, we're going to bring another guy in here. And this Hell's Angel dude's like, no, we're set. We're good, man. We don't want to switch out the brother. He didn't want to bring no one else in. There was a whole lot of woods like, get me in there, brother. You know what I mean? I'll shoot you a shot of coffee. He's like, fuck you, your coffee and everything you love. I'm cool, right? This is good. And it was pretty much set in stone. That's how it was going to be until this cop comes this day and he's like, hey, I got to bring someone in here, man. How he got plugged in, the cop didn't even know. He was like, look, I'm going to bring this guy in here. He's a quiet dude. He can't talk. He's missing a tongue, right? So the dude, the Hell's Angel that I'm chilling with, man, he's like, fuck, bro. You know what I mean? Here we go, man. I have to teach someone else, you know, because a lot of people don't like lacing you up, especially if you're not trainable, right? So this guy comes in and he's a big old Harry and the Henderson motherfucker, big old beard, white dude, right? Curly ass, dirty, scroungy hair. Looks like he hasn't showered nor bird bath in a very long time. Smells like fucking aspirin, Tylenol, like he's taking all kinds of medication and has a stench of athlete's foot cream. I mean, just bad, right? So this Volta comes in and this Hell's Angel dude's like, all right, whatever, brother, right? And, you know, one of the things there in that prison was, like I said, you mind your own. But when you start to see weird shit going on and you start to notice someone's acting a little weird, well, then you have to resort back to prison politics, old school. And being that we were from California, this Hell's Angel, just like myself, was one of the guys that would pull up and be like, hey, let me see your paperwork. What are you in here for? What it is. Now, remember, I told you this guy had no fucking tongue, so he couldn't talk. He's talking like this. Do you want me to set the potatoes? Right? Yeah, I guess you can set the potatoes, right? Here's a papa. Shut up. So this big dude is kind of, for the first couple of days, just doing his own thing. You know, he's grabbing the potatoes. He's throwing them in the pillar. And everything's good in the hood. So a couple of days later, man, I walk in, you know, this Hell's Angel dude's right there. And he's like, hey, bro. Because he used to go to work a little earlier so he can get everything prepared for the day. Because like I said, he was one of the leads. They had like the main lead cook was this big ass black dude. He was a lifer. And then they had this dude who was also a lifer, this Hell's Angel cat. So he would go in early and they'd prepare shit and then they'd bring us in from the different buildings, right? And he was on my building. So anyways, I come in and he's all quiet. I'm like, what's up, fool? Right? And he's like, hey, this fool's a chomo, fool. He's a weirdo. I said, what happened? He said, one of my little wood homies, got at me from a different building, shot me a wheel line, and yeah, this dude got to go, bro. He's got to go. So I said, well, fuck. You know what I mean? What do you want to do? And he's like, nah, brother, this one's on me, right? I said, all right, cool, shit, fuck, I'm not trying to function with this dude either. We don't get down like that. But you got to understand, in this prison, it wasn't like, yes, these chomos, these predators were getting killed. Yes, they were getting extorted and ran up on. But there was just so damn many of them, you didn't know who was who and what was what. I've told stories in the past in this particular prison where I thought a homie was a homie, man, and he ended up being a weirdo, I knew that when he hooked me up with a chick and she tried to write me in crayon. Something was all bad, right? So anyways, he's like, don't worry, I'm going to get with this dude's program. So I said, okay. So he's like, I'm going to plot it out. I'm going to do it. Let me think on it. So like I said, man, typical day, man, we went and did our thing and we're still chopping it up. And I could feel that this big Sasquatch fucking hairy motherfucker is starting to feel the vibe. Because before, this Hell's Angel dude would tell him like, hey, the potatoes are over there. But then now he's not talking to him at all. Now I'm not talking to him. We told the brother's like, fuck him, right? So everyone's doing their own thing. And this guy is kind of getting a vibe. So he keeps it where his back is not to us at all. His back is always against the wall as he's throwing in things. So he kind of is hip to the skip. So we're thinking, okay, man, should we give this guy an opportunity to wiggle up out of the veg room and tell the cops? Because usually that's what those weirdos would do. If they feel a bad vibe, something's coming, because something did come, they would usually fucking, tell the cop, hey, I can't go in there no more because I think the Hell's Angel dude's going to choke me out. You know what I mean? The Mexican dude's going to stab me and the black dude's probably going to fuck me. I can't do nothing, right? Hey, shout out to my brothers, man. I'm just saying, though. That brother was looking at him like, shit, I got life. You know what I mean? Shit. Help a brother out, right? So anyway, I'm fucking with you. So he's kind of getting that vibe. So another day passes and he lets his guard down. So he's starting to get relaxed. And like I said, man, this guy couldn't talk, so he wouldn't talk to us. And when we'd eat our lunch or like our chow, because they'd bring us an extra tray, you got double up trays. That was your payment for working in there, right? You got the double up trays. We would go in the corner, me and this white dude. Of course, we didn't eat after each other or nothing like that, but we'd sit there at the table and eat. And, the brother would sit at another table. He'd read his Quran. He'd eat, do his prayers and shit, his Muslim shit. And then, of course, you had fucking big Humpty Dumpty over there. All the king's horses and all the king's men were about to put him together again after this one. He was over there. So this Hell's Angel tells me, hey, bro, you're a good dude, man. It was nice meeting you. And, thank you. I appreciate my lady. We appreciate all the cards you sent me. And brother, it's time for me to go, man. And I was like, why? What's up? He's like, yeah, I'm going to whack this motherfucker right now. And usually different races didn't talk like that. But because we had become friends and we're in the kitchen and it was a different state and politics were a little bit different, everyone kind of, did their thing together. Other than, I'll say the whites were pretty solid. There was a lot of them. So they kind of had their own little things going on. But everyone was kind of cool. That you still had the North and South issues on site. You still had, the blacks that didn't get along with the whites at points. But it wasn't as heavy and deep into the politics of, say, California, right? So he's like, all right, brother. And I'm like, okay, well, so what's up? He said, this is what I need you to do. I don't want you to get caught up in it. So you and the brother, man, you guys, and this is how real this motherfucker was, right? He's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell the cop that you and the brother, man, are not seeing eye to eye, right? And then I'm going to send you guys home for the day. And I said, well, damn. Well, that's cold, man, right? He said, just do it, man. I want you to get on. Right? And I was like, damn, bro, I ain't trying to go back to the building. Fuck that. I try to wiggle up out that motherfucker as much as possible. He said, how about we do this, man? How about we tell the brother, man, I'll say something that the brother, man, is fucking up, man. I'm going to get him up out of here. Right? And he goes, you go out there, man. I'm going to volunteer you to go on the line today. Because sometimes they'd be like, hey, we need an extra person on the line. Someone didn't come into work or whatever, right? So I said, all right, that's cool. He said, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. I was like, what? He said, I'm going to kill this motherfucker, right? So this is what happens. So I'm out there. I go out there on the line. And of course, I'm chopping it up. I got a few homeboys in there. There's a couple Southsiders homes. But again, they kept us segregated, man. There was like a cage in the middle of this kitchen. So they kept the Southsiders over there. And they were doing like more of the cooking. And over here on this side, we were like more of the line servers, right? It's just the way it was. And so anyways, this dude's in the veggie room. And it's all glass. So you can see in there. And I seen the Movida go down smooth, right? So what he did was that big white dude's in there kind of nervous. Like, why'd they get to go? But he can't say shit, right? So this Hell's Angel dude was smooth. He had the cop come unlock the knife. And when the cop unlocked the knife to put it on the table, right? He was like, hey, you know what? In fact, I do need one more worker. Have this dude come back in. So I slid back in, right? And I was like, what's up, right? He was like, got to get him over here. And I was like, bro, I ain't trying to participate in this shit. You know what I mean? I ain't trying to participate in you killing this motherfucker. I mean, shit, fuck it. He is a weirdo though, huh? Fuck it, let's go, right? Man up, right? Fuck it, I'm gonna catch a case. It's prison is prison. And so he's like, you got to get him over here, man. So fucking, I'm doing my thing, and he gets that knife, and now the knife is on the table. So he's got about this much leeway, so he could swing about this much, right? And I told the big fat fucking dude, I was like, hey, you need to go over there, man, and grab these celery things. We're gonna have this fucking fruit salad shit, right? And as his guard's down, as he walks by, this big fucker got snatched in the biggest bear hug. It was Hell's Angel on fucking dirty motherfucker day, right? He snatched this fool up and just started booking him. Look, this blade didn't have a sharp tip. It was kind of rounded off, and I seen roundness going in him. Digging him out. This fool couldn't tie this fool. I got no tongue, right? So he couldn't scream. That motherfucker was in there, fat tongue. Right? He was getting whacked, right? The cop, I'm over there fucking by the carrots like, oh, hell no, right? I ain't gonna lie, man. Doing a couple gangster too, right? And then I slid that way. So the cops say, hey, down, down. Alarm goes off, everyone down. This fool's still booking this fool. He booked him like 7 times. Didn't kill him, man, but was breaking shit in him. Cops come, there's sangre everywhere, man. They fucking shut the kitchen down. Everyone's gonna get a sack lunch tonight because we don't know if this shit is contaminated, right? And that was that, man. He ended up going to the hole, man. They investigated what happened. I said, I don't know. I was over there cutting carrots, man. I didn't see nothing. They were like, yeah, right. We're going to look at the cameras. Of course, the way the cameras were positioned, they didn't see shit. They seen a commotion, but they didn't really see, me involved. And that was it. The big fat dude went to the infirmary. And then, of course, the Hell's Angel went to the hole, man. He never came back. I never seen him again. And I remember it was I'd say about 3 years later, I'm still in that prison, same prison, right? Or maybe like 2.5 years later. He's already shipped out. He ended up catching a shoot term and then getting out of there, man. And the big fat dude never came back. We never seen him again, And here's the cool part. The reason why he didn't have a tongue, it's a disgusting thing. But if I'm going to speak the story, I'm going to tell you the true story, the real story. The reason he didn't have a tongue, man, was his stepdaughter had bit his fucking tongue off. That was the word on the curb. And he got caught up on all those weird charges, and she had bit his tongue off when he was trying to fucking do weird shit. I know it's a weird thing, but it's facts, right? And that's why he got whacked. So, a couple years later, I get a letter, and it's actually from that dude's old lady, right? With a money order, because this is back in the days when you would still get money orders and shit. With the money order for $30, man. This fool said, I never, and it was a letter, and she said, my husband said, he forgot to pay you, and he just now remembered, and he was reminiscing, and bam. That's how real that vault was, man. He paid me like 2 years later. So I was wondering where that shit went to, right? Because I drew a whole lot of cards. But needless to say, the story is, man, the Hells Angels are definitely dangerous, or he was. He was definitely a dangerous individual, man. Real righteous, good dude, solid. And again, man, like I said, I've been in plenty of prison yards with the bikers. Now, a person asked me another question yesterday. They were like, all right, Gun, so who do the Mongols kick it with? They kick it with the Southerners. If they're from Southern California, they kick it with the Southerners. I've never been on a yard where too many Northern California chapter Mongols and Southern California Mongols were on the yard together. So I don't know how that would work out. That's a question you might have to ask yourself. Who would the Northern California chapters, like the ones from Sanjo, kick it with? Norteños or Sureños? I don't know, Holmes. They're pretty much going to roll with their brothers from their club. So, most of the Mongols chapters from California are from Southern California. So, of course, they're going to probably wiggle over there. That's just the way it is. It isn't like that. A lot of Vatos from up north don't kick it with the South. You got to remember, once upon a time, Holmes, there was before there was North and South, Vatos kicked it with whoever. It was the righteous and the unrighteous, and that was it, man. And eventually, in the 80s, lines were formed between North and South, Norteños and Sureños, and that's how that came about. So, there are upstaters, Southsiders from up north, Northern California, and of course they kick it with the Vatos from down south. So I would think the Mongols would pretty much do the same thing, but correct me if I'm wrong. Anyways, that's a story. That's a true story. That's a factual story that really happened, man. I remember, man, they caught the homie up. He ended up catching the case. He was a lifer anyways, and that was it. I remember, they came, the investigators, they're like, did you see nothing? That was it. Hell nah. Yo, you kidding me? That's a Hell's Angel, brother. Fuck you. Fuck you and the guy he stabbed, right? Nah, nothing got said, man. From what I heard, just through the grapevine, through different woods there, that he ended up actually beating the case, man. That guy couldn't say shit. He could write it, but he couldn't say it. You know what I mean? Hey, leave no witnesses. With that being said, I hope that you move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the struggle, to strive, to struggle, man. True stories, facts, man. Hell's Angels, real ones. Shouts out, respects. to the red and white. I got to give love, man. I got friends, like I said, from the Mongols and from the Hells Angels and from the Vogels. But I've always had a place in my heart, man, for the Hells Angels, just because I grew up in the Central Valley and the Merced around them, I knew that the Mongols established a club like out in Los Baños, and I've told a story back in the days, man, where my ex-old lady, she was actually my ex-old lady, my first girlfriend, man. Her twin brothers actually got caught up for a murder with the Mongol, man. I think if you refer back to my, my channel right in the beginning, man, I told that story. It's facts. Anyways, with that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose and get everything that you want coming. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle and strive for what I truly believe in. And that's two things in life. The coming together of all people, because we're all the same. And the Raiders, Gunners Collective Raiders. You know what it is. Bang, bang, the gun.